Guys, it's important. يعني it's really important to attend my classes because we don't know if we will have time later on to re-explain these things. تمام. فأنا in the previous time, guys, I started with paper 6. هلا on paper 6, guys, first of all, I started in the concept of planning an experiment.
استنى أستاذ، بس تبعت لنا PDF لكل بوكلت.
فاين. ايش ضل عندكم؟ احنا بعتنا
هي الأخيرة.
الأخيرة ما بعتها.
ثيرمال وجنرال.
أستاذ أنا بدي تبعت الويفز.
مش أخذتوها مني الجنرال ولا لا؟
أنا أخذتها. ما بعت على الهاي كبيرة، ما بتنبعت بالإيميل.
طب كيف
نعملها أبلود هون على المايكروسوفت أوفيس وبتاخدوها.
أستاذ بعت الويفز كمان لو سمحت يعني.
Okay, fine. And I thought and I sent it to you, but anyway, I will resend it again. Okay, guys. You may I talked about that in the previous time. In paper 6, regularly we have 4 to 5 questions, but mostly 4 questions. One of the most important question اللي هو فكرة planning an experiment. Planning an experiment questions, guys, they don't depend on the previous knowledge. يعني it's just a skill. And you may have an experiment that you did not see it or read about it ever. Okay, but we have to know how to write this question. Please, guys, please, it's a very important to watch the previous video. Please, guys, it's really important. Okay.
جربت الرد كمان ما فتح.
طيب I will check هلا. خلي بعد the class I will check. Okay.
طب هذا أي امتحان؟
هذا yes هذا I think and in the previous time I did the planning an experiment for winter 18 61 62 63. Okay, 61 62 63. I did the plan and experiment questions. هلا راح اعمل March 62 وراح اعمل summer 61 و 62 اللي هم جون sorry.
اوكي.
هلا the one that we will start with it اللي هو ايش؟ March 62. Also, I will open the mark scheme in order to show you the answers. So where is the mark scheme for March 62? Okay. March and now best one variant. I have my mark scheme, sorry, I question paper. Mark scheme. Okay. Planning an experiment. A student here investigate, look to the question, or read the question for a second. And I prefer, guys, if you have the booklet for paper 6, it would be better. Okay, in front of you السكرين
هذا variant ايش؟
هذا مارش بس ما في غيره variant 2 yes.
2018.
Yes. A student is investigating the factors that affect the size of what? Of crater hole a ball makes when it's dropped into a sand. I think no anyone or at that time or when the students guys set to this exam, I think that no anyone took this experiment before. General skills. We are asked about general skills. Plan an experiment. This is the important thing that we have to read it carefully, guys. Plan an experiment which would enable you to investigate one factor which might affect the size of what? Of the crater. The apparatus available: metal balls with different size, a tray of sand. Write a plan for the experiment. In your plan should state the factors that being investigated, state the variables that you would control, list any additional apparatus, explain briefly how you would carry out the experiment, including what you measure and how this would be done. State a precaution, suggest a suitable graph. Guys, هدول يعني approximately يعني أو mostly هدول الأشياء we are asked about them every question. So first of all, guys, دائما in this plan and experiment, try to set up the experiment as a figure. Okay, much better than describing the figure. And here we have metal balls with different sizes, and I may sand the tray like this. Label everything. Yes, tray of sand. Okay. You have here two different ways, guys. Either you have to measure what will happen to the crater using different size of metal balls, or you may find the relation between the height. يعني ال other stuff and I may ايش but at certain height. يعني مثلا هون this is the ball. I have to measure what? Height. High ruler. Okay. This ruler, guys, in order to ensure that then we have to measure the height from the bottom of the ball, right? Here I may investigate the size of what? Of the ball. How we will investigate, guys, the size of the ball? I have to use two blocks like this. I have to place the ball between these two blocks. And here what? Ruler. Do you remember this? Okay. In this way, guys, in this way, I can measure the size of the ball or diameter. Okay, but I may call this setup 1. This is setup what? 2. First of all, set up the experiment as shown above. Guys, this is a statement. In this statement, you include everything. Instead of mentioning that, place a ball at certain height, measure the height of the ruler, measure the height of the ball, place a sand below the ball, measure the size of the using 2 blocks or something like this. هون حكينا 2 wooden blocks.
يعني مو ضروري نكتبهم.
خلص no need. هيك انت you mentioned everything. بس
لازم
هيك
نكتب
عشان
set up experiment as shown above.
Yes, the best thing انه خلص انا هي بدل ما اقعد احكي عن الاكسبيرمنت instead of writing about the experiment, setting up of the experiment, right? And I showed that, including my figure. Well, I think it's better than describing a setup. Here, measure the diameter of the metal balls. I think they are right. Metal balls. Using the setup 1 مثلا ممكن نحكي هيك انه using setup 1. اوكي using اوكي خلص طلعوا كيف هيك انا ريحت حالي صراحه. كتبت لهم انا how we will measure the diameter أو measure the diameter of the metal balls. I may use micrometer or vernier calipers also to measure the diameter of the ball. تمام. Then what I have to do, drop the metal ball and measure from certain height. خلينا نكتب okay. Measure the depth of crater using a ruler. Guys, any quantity that will be measured, you should mention what you will measure. Okay, you should mention what you will measure, what is the instrument that you will use to measure. Then repeat this experiment of the previous steps. Look, guys, I will repeat these things, previous steps, several times, or 3 times, not several times, sorry. Three times and find the average of the depth. Look here, guys, what I will write now. Repeat the previous steps using 5 or 6 different metal ball sizes. لا, at least 5, guys. Okay, at least what? 5. At least 5 different metal sizes. Okay, هلا ما في طلعوا هون when I wrote like this, no need to re-mention drop again ball from high to record and so on. خلاص, repeat the previous steps. It's clear for the examiner. All the previous steps using 5 different metal ball sizes. Here, after this, guys, we have to write the precaution here. What is meant by precaution, guys? Precaution, something that we have to do before carrying out the experiment, in order to make the experiment in order to make fair test. Right? Type, guys, what do you think? What we should consider here the precautions for this experiment?
Same amount of sand.
Same amount of sand. Okay, fine. بس لا مش يعني مش
or same size of tray.
يعني okay, fine. هلا المين point, guys, same height, because I'm considering now the effect of the size of the ball, right? I'm considering now the effect of the size of the ball. So I have to use what? The same height. I have to use what? The same height. What else? What do you think? Using the same height. From where, or same position, the ball is dropped.
أستاذ نقدر نحكي balls إنه with same density.
Same density. And using same ball material, or same material, or same density, yes. Okay, these are just, we have to change the size, and here we are studying the effect of the size. هلا eventually guys, what I have to write, I have to write record the data in the following table. هلا بالتable what I have to do guys, تعالوا اشرح اعمل size يعني أو diameter of the metal ball in meters or centimeters, وهير الدepth in centimeters. Okay guys, and I have to record this. يعني always in these type of questions we have to write a table that will be used to record the data. Eventually I have to draw a conclusion using the following graph. What is this following graph? Would be depth in centimeters versus what? Diameter in centimeter. That's it. Always guys, we have to write the planning an experiment in this form or in this theme.
ما
Right.
فهمت الجراف.
هلا الجراف احنا what we are investigating, we are investigating depth مع السايز صح؟ بس that's it. No need to draw the graph, the actual graph. I don't
اوكي.
know. بس انا I
طب
have
كيف
to show
نعرف
that.
ايش نحط بالهوريزونتال والفيرتيكال؟
طبعا هذا dependent, if you remember. This is dependent. This is independent. Is that clear guys?
Yes.
Any question about that? طيب. Let's check the mark scheme. Okay guys, look here please. Clear statement of appropriate variable to test. ايش ال appropriate variable to test؟ اللي هي قلنا size. تمام. Name the variable that which you be kept constant. احنا we kept the height constant. Meter rule at any apparatus essential to variable under test, اللي هم حكينا عن الرولر والmethod of measuring diameter. Measure the factor under test and drop the ball. Measure diameter or depth of what? Of depression. كتبنا هذا الشيء. Repeat for a new value variable under the test. The additional inputs on. Repeat the experiment for each value and find the average, which we wrote before. Means of measuring depth or diameter of the crater accurately. Apparatus for measuring diameter for ball accurately زي اللي احنا رسمناها تاعت ال 2 blocks مع الميتر rule. Okay. In different places. A smooth, flat, and sand surface. At least 5 sets of data. We wrote that. Reliable means of releasing ball. هلا releasing ball guys, it should be a ball that should be should be dropped from rest in all the times. The ball should be dropped from rest. This is another thing. بس احنا we wrote everything. In this way guys, we got or we will get 7 marks. And I will show you another question. I will use the same way of writing, whatever the value. If you watch the previous video, guys, also you will see that I used the same theme of writing, بس عنا according, I changed actually, and I have to do according to the experiment. Let me show you another one. Let's go to summer 6.1. If you have it, please open it. اللي هي June 18, 6.1. Did you open it?
أستاذ نحن لنا أيام variant 2.
Guys ما عندكم variant 1؟
لا نحن كلنا عندنا variant 2.
ليه؟
ما هيك بس لما شريناهم كل شرينا نفس الفاريانت.
غريب. Who advised you that? طيب anyway. A student is investigating the effect of double-walled insulation on the rate of cooling of hot water. Please read. Did you read the question, guys? Okay. Then we need here to investigate what? Guys, this is the most important part in the question. Plan an experiment to investigate what? The effect of the size of air gap with the rate of cooling of hot water. The following apparatus in a copper container, number of metal containers of different diameters, all larger than the copper container. Thermometer, stopwatch, measuring cylinder, supply of hot water. You can use also other apparatus that are available in a school laboratory. In your plan, you should blah, 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 blah. I will start again, as what we mentioned before. We have to start drawing. And guys, this is the copper container. I may use it again, but by placing this copper container in another container. Okay, this is a control experiment. I may use it or I may not use it. Yani if you did not write it, no problem. But we may consider mark on it. Here the larger container, right? Because here, guys, we have a container of 5 different diameters, all larger than the copper. So to investigate the effect of the double wall or the size of the air gap, this is the air gap, guys. Right? This is what? The air gap. What I have to do here, I have to, here, water, hot water, labeled, hot water. Place a thermometer inside it. I will show you why. Okay. Then we have to use what? Stopwatch. Here same thing, I have to place same amount of water, hot water طبعا. This is what thermometer, don't forget, we have to label everything. Okay, guys, again, let's go back to the question. We have to study or find or investigate the effect of the size of the air gap to the rate of cooling of hot water. Let's say this is a boiling water. Okay. So the first step that I have to write, what is it? Set up the experiment as shown above. I repeated what did I write before? Okay. I wrote everything. I draw the experiment that I want to set it up. What I have to do first of all, measure the initial temperature using a thermometer. Guys, every physical quantity you mention it, you have to mention the instrument that you will use in order to measure it. Okay, using what? A thermometer. 3. What I have to do later on, measure the size of air gap. Guys, who can tell me how can I measure the size of this air gap?
vernier caliper.
By measuring the diameter of the copper container and the other container using vernier calipers and then subtract them. صح guys? If I subtract the two diameters, I will get what?
The air gap.
Yes, I will get the air gap, exactly. So here, in order to measure this, I have to measure what? The diameter of the copper container and other containers, or other container using a vernier calipers, right? Sorry for that. Seems it's lagged. Okay, vernier caliper. Then subtract them. Subtract the two values. Okay, guys. Then I measured the size of the gap by measuring the diameter of the copper containers and the other container using vernier caliper, then subtract the two values. And I don't know if I mentioned them. I had other container, larger container. I have to label everything. Okay, guys? Number 4, what I have to do also, measure the temperature after, let's say, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, no matter what is it, 3 minutes. Okay. 5, I may write repeat the experiment and find the average of the time, repeat the previous steps. And find the average of the final temperature. Again, guys, repeat the previous steps. Pay attention, guys, here to what will I write now. 4, 5, different container diameters. هلا after that what I have to write here guys, I have to write what? Using هم ال precautions, using طلعوا لي precautions هون. Same amount of hot water, same initial temperature, and the center of the copper container should be at the center of the larger container. Any other precautions guys? Hey, one I used ايش? Same amount of water, same initial temperature. I wrote and repeat the previous steps. So what I have to do, record the data in the following table. أنا هذا التيبل إيش راح يكون فيه؟ راح يكون عندنا احنا we are varying the size of air gap. Guys, don't forget to write the unit. يعني size of air gap here probably يكون بالسنتيمتر صح؟ والفاينل temperature in degree ايش؟ Celsius. I may draw a conclusion using the following graph. Here guys we use the same theme of writing. يعني هاي ايش عندنا هون؟ عندنا size of gap اللي هو dependent of the air gap بالسنتيمتر، وهير ايش الفاينل temperature degree ايش Celsius. Okay guys, here we need to explain how we will carry out. We state also the controlled variables. We draw a table with column headings to show what you display. Explain how would use your reading to reach the conclusion. طبعا هون guys the one, let me write this also. The one that has lower or higher final temperature is a best insulator. صح guys? Any question about that? Okay, let us check the mark scheme. This is قلنا summer, right? 6-1. Okay, let's check if we wrote everything needed. Hot water in a copper can, time taken for the temperature to drop. Correct use of at least 3 larger outer containers separately. Some indication that the size of the air gap is measured. حكينا كيف. Any to use something to cover the air gap. We did not mention this. Use lead. We did not. Starting temperature حكينا عنها. Room temperature, same volume of water. هو بده تنتين من هدول. احنا we mentioned them. انه use a control with no outer container. حكينا هذا هي we mentioned it also. Inner insulation okay بيصير uniform air gap. هلا table clear columns of temperature or time مع مين؟ مع الاير gap with appropriate units. الكونكلوجن انه least temperature drop او longest time for temperature to drop بيكون عندنا lowest cooling rate او the best insulation. Or plot temperature against time, at least gradient shows lowest ash cooling rate. Okay guys, any question about this? Let me show you the last one today. Here, by ending of this, I did with you guys 6 questions about planning an experiment. Now it will be your turn, okay? Well, after finishing the class, we have to talk about our planning for the preparation for the external, okay? June 18, 6-2. Look to this experiment, guys. A student is investigating whether the distance that the toy truck will travel along horizontal floor. It's something, يعني, we are unfamiliar with this. Before stopping depends on its mass. Okay, the following apparatus is available to the student. Ramp, blocks to support the ramp as shown in figure 4.1, toy truck, selection of masses, other standard apparatus from the physical laboratory. What we are asked to find, this is an important. Plan an experiment to investigate whether the distance that the toy truck will travel along the horizontal floor before stopping depends on the mass. يعني let's say here this is a trolley. This trolley will move at certain distance here on the floor. It may what? Stop. Clear? I want to measure this distance, guys. We have to vary the mass here. We have to vary what? The mass. Here I have to mark this position. Okay. Here I have, this is the distance. This distance is measured using what? A ruler. Using a ruler. Already the setup is drawn for you. What I have to write? Set up the experiment.
كيف عرفت إنه وين الستوب؟
لا just something it may stop here and I say that it may stop here.
okay.
Here and something بس هيك to show the examiner إنه it will be stopped. I showed here the examiner guys طلعوا معي إنه I will measure the distance from the front size of what? Of the trolley. يعني here when the trolley reaches here تمام. I measure the distance from front side to front side. Is that clear? So set up the experiment as shown above. Okay, this is the first step. The second step, drop. Oh, sorry, drop. Release. Guys, this is an important. I have to release this from rest. I have to release it from rest. Release the trolley from a certain position on the ramp. Guys, this position should be labeled. This position should be labeled like this. I have to show, you know, and I have to position, or I have to label this position, and I have to mark this. Mark the initial position. Because when I repeat the experiment, I have to repeat, or I have to release the trolley from the same position. Okay. 3, measure the distance from the end of the ramp to the point where the trolley stops. Guys, it's very clear here. طلعوا, and I showed the examiner here that I will measure this distance. Okay, so clarifying everything on the figure will help me, right? Instead of writing this stuff, sometimes I may find a problem in describing the distance that I will measure. But if I label it in the right way, no need to describe it. خلاص واضح. It's very clear إنه I'm measuring this distance. إيش الستep اللي راح أعملها بعد هيك؟ Sorry, here we forget to measure the mass. Sorry. Here before, measure, صح? The mass of the trolley. Using what? Using what? Using a balance, right? صح? We have to use this. Or we have to measure it using what? A balance. Is that clear, guys? Because we are definitely we are measuring we are measuring the stopping distance مع الماس. ايش الستep اللي بعديها؟ مين يعرف؟ Who can tell me that, guys? Direct, without deep thinking about that. Always we have to write it like this. Repeat the previous steps. Several times. Oh, sorry, not several. 3 times are enough. And find the average of stopping distance. Guys, look to the way that I write. Always I use the same way. 5, add 5 different mass slots to the trolley. Do you know what are the mass slots? Guys, are you with me? Okay, fine. I thought that it's hanged up. Okay. Add 5 different mass slots. Mass slots, separate masses that can be added. They have cylindrical shape like this. They have known masses. Yani I have 50 grams, 100 grams, 150, and I can add every time 50 or 100. Okay, 50 or what? 100. 5 different masses. I may give the range here: 50, 100, 150, 200, 250 grams. And repeat the previous steps as what we wrote before. Tamam. Always we have to write like this. Hello guys, I have to write the precautions now. Even that I mentioned them يعني implicitly. يعني I mentioned them here. And I wrote, أنا from the same distance. If I wrote repeat the previous steps, معناته I have to release the trolley from the same position, and I have to use I have to measure the point where it stops also from the same position, using or by releasing. واتفقنا لي precaution صح؟ by releasing the trolley from rest every time and from the same position. Right, هدول things that I wrote here اتفقنا اللي هو ايش رح يكون precaution. I may write also I have to measure the distance from the same point. Finally, guys, what I have to do, record the data in the following table. What is this table, guys? we are changing mass بالضبط. Mass in grams, distance in centimeters. Draw a conclusion. Using the following graph.
بيكون x axis الماس صح؟
بالضبط. Mass in grams, distance in centimeters. Okay, let's check very quick things here. Draw a table or tables, column headings to show. طبعا احنا هون we explained briefly. We stated the apparatus that we would use. State the key variables. Also, we mentioned them. We wrote here a ruler. Let me check. Measure the distance from the end. نسينا نكتب using a ruler. Using ايش؟ ruler. Don't forget this, guys. Draw a table. You may add to the diagram or figure to help your description. Okay. We also draw a graph, even if we are not asked about that. If I check the mark scheme, look here, guys, this is the mark scheme. Method include place truck on the ramp and release. Measure the distance traveled from the bottom of the ramp. We wrote that. Repeat different masses loaded on the same truck. Additional apparatus, meter rule or measuring tape, controlled variables, height, the angle of the ramp, release position, with table with the clear columns, mass, distance with appropriate units. Is that clear, guys? Mira, Sama, Kinan.
Oh, Ustaz, it's clear.
طيب guys. Now احنا يعني in this class and the previous class I showed you how to write or how to answer the questions like planning an experiment. Okay. Next time, inshallah, we start with another type of questions. Okay, guys. If you have the past papers with you in the class, it would be better. Okay, it would be better. Okay, so daily we will have a class at 2 p.m. Any question about that?
لا.
Okay, guys,
No.
have a nice day. So we will see you inshallah tomorrow.
Okay, thank you, Ustaz.
You are welcome. Fatima Turkey. Fatima, are you with us, Fatima?